It is a 14-game slate with plenty of decisions to be made for today. We have to decide, do we go Tyler Glasnow? Do we go Jacob deGrom? Do we stack Coors Field? How do we view this slate for MLB DFS? Thankfully, we've got options. We got a lot of good options. So let's dive on in and break them down for today. Welcome on into the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. That's right here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to answer your questions live on air to get you set for Friday night slate of MLB DFS. No matter where you are watching this stream, you can get your questions in. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, whatever it may be. Get those questions in about tonight's slate. We can talk about the pitchers. I talked a lot about Jacob deGrom and Tyler Glasnow this morning on the solo shot. Also a little bit about Sandy Alcantara. We can talk about them again here, maybe some justifications for some things, or if you're not in on them, tell me why. We can talk about that. We can talk about stacks, one-offs, whatever it may be. Let me know, and we'll get to you set for Friday night's slate. Big reminder that we are here every weekday at 4 p.m. Eastern on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages, going through your MLB DFS questions. So no matter where you're watching, make sure you are subscribed so you can get your questions in every day. Michael says hello. What's up, Michael? Manny, what's up? Hello, Manny. How's it going? Michael, deGrom, yeah, boy, yeah. Number 2 for me tonight behind Glasnow. Okay, Devontae said that I promised him better pitchers today, so here I am. Devontae, I hope that either Walker Buehler or Christian Javier paid off for you last night, but your selections far better for today. So let's help Devontae out and go through the pitchers for today. I think Tyler Glasnow is the number 1 pitcher on this slate. He is facing the Blue Jays. Tough matchup for sure. However, he's very good. In the 4 starts this year, and I'm going with just the 4 starts for Glasnow because he has that new slider this year, 2.36 skill interactive ERA, 40% strikeout rate. Oh no! Well, that's a bummer. I'll probably have Cal just take me off the screen share here for a second, and then I'll sign back in off screen because I can't have you tech-savvy people out there stealing my passwords and stuff like that. So I'll log back in. But as far as Tyler Glasnow goes, it's a situation where I think that the talent is good enough where I don't care too much about the matchup. Now, the second question would be, oh my gosh, I actually have to enter my password? This is a first. Good thing I had Cal take it off. All right, there we go. The thing with Tyler Glasnow is I feel really good about the strikeout upside for sure. The reason I put him above Jacob deGrom is I'm a little bit concerned that deGrom asked for an additional day off. This is not some oh, macho man, you must pitch every 5th day type thing. It's more so that he asked for the day off, and that says to me probably not feeling at 100% health if that was his request. I still think he's number 2 pitcher for today. He has tremendous numbers. I think he has a better matchup here against the Nationals than Glasnow has against the Blue Jays, but it is at least a little bit scary to me that he asked for the extra day of rest. So I still like him a lot, just an increased risk there with deGrom relative to where he is usually at. So hopefully it helps Devontae. I think Glasnow's tremendous. I think deGrom, good second option. Now, Jesus says the pitchers are high salary for today. You are correct. Jacob deGrom, $12,500. Tyler Glasnow is $11,200. However, there is a really good low-salaried stack that I like for today with the Detroit Tigers. So let's talk about them. Try to get Jesus a little bit extra wiggle room here in getting up to Glasnow and deGrom. $29.75 left after we go with Glasnow. Now, the Tigers actually kind of surprised me because they put Zach Short in the 2-hole. Zach Short is minimum salary on FanDuel for today. Looking at his minor league numbers, I am not super itchy to use Zach Short for today. Wasn't a big power guy in the minors. To me, that's a little bit of a red flag. So I'm going to go with Nico Goodrum here. I'm going to plug in Wilson Ramos over at first base. We're going to go Jonathan Scope at second base. And who was the 4th person that I had there? Oh, yeah, Heimer Candelario. Okay, so let's go with Candelario for that 4th spot in this stack. Okay, so we got those 4 guys. I'm going to scroll up here to reveal the remaining salary after we go with those guys. It is $34.50. You can stack Coors Field with that as long as you're okay being a little bit frugal with your stacks at Coors Field. So because the Tigers' salaries are so low, it's not too bad to actually get 2 guys like deGrom and Glasnow. Let's actually go to deGrom here and see what we're working with there. Probably will still be around 32-ish, 32, 31, 25. Not too bad. So because the Tigers, to me, are so appealing and because their salaries are so low, you can make that work decently easily, and I would like to for today. So yes, Jesus, they are very high salaried, but I still think that they are worth it. Michael, in your opinion, what is the best maple bat and what is the best birch bat? Don't know. I used to work for a baseball team. It's a summer collegiate baseball league, and they made me take batting practice once. I was embarrassing. So I'm not a good one to give good takes on bats. Mateo, hey, 2 questions. Which right-handed bats on Oakland do you like? And do you like Jed Lowry for tonight? Let's pull up Oakland over here. Oakland is going up against Jorge Lopez. Okay, so Jorge Lopez is a righty. Okay, so let's pull up Jorge Lopez's numbers here. From what I saw, if I recall correctly, I thought that Lopez had been doing something that was kind of interesting to open the year. Let's see what notes are on him. His changeup usage was up a bit. So the past 5 starts. So this is his 5-start sample for Jorge Lopez. For him, using more changeups, getting a lot of strikeouts so far this year. Let's take into the game logs here and see who he has faced in getting those strikeouts. Oh, Texas, that's a strikeout booster to be sure. Boston and New York, I'm guessing because I know Mateo is very smart, that he dug in and saw that Lopez was struggling mostly with righties versus lefties. Getting a lot of strikeouts this year against righties. Didn't get a lot last year, though. So I'm guessing that's what led Mateo here. So I understand it. I think that I have other options I like a lot more on this slate. The A's are okay. They're fine, but not a team that I really, really adore. So I think that that's why I'm probably a little bit lower on them. Jed Lowry, I think he's fine. Jed Lowry will bat lefty against Lopez for today. Lowry's been hitting the ball really hard to open up this year. I think that's very encouraging. And I think that there is enough there where you can use him. I'm just not super jazzed about the A's personally. Buehler was a bright spot, but the rest of my lineup was very meh. Yeah, Buehler was good. He definitely, I think like with the stacks last night, I whiffed a couple places. I got bailed out because I had Devers and Verdugo in a good number of lineups, but outside of that, wasn't exactly the best. I think AJ Pollock went deep too, but yeah, the stacks for last night were not necessarily the best by any means. All right, Jack, is it smart to go Glasnow and DeGrom at pitcher with an Oakland stack? Jack, go to the site where you only need one. Come on, man. Only one pitcher here. You only need one pitcher on FanDuel. Jack, trying to sneak these other questions in here. Come on, man. I would say no. I would not go both. Partly because I think that Sandy Alcantara is a good option. I don't know his salary elsewhere because why look at other sites when you've got FanDuel.com? Alcantara, though, is low salaried on FanDuel for today. He checks in at $8,000. Did just face the Giants last week, and that is scary. However, he's good. He's added a change, or not. He didn't add a changeup. He's throwing a changeup more this year, about a 21% rate on that changeup. His big issue in the past was with lefties. And if you are a right-handed pitcher struggling with lefties, get a changeup in your repertoire immediately. And it's worked for Alcantara. 28% strikeout rate, 3.38 skill interactive ERA, 1.6% barrel rate. That number not stable yet, so I wouldn't put a ton of stock in that. But I think that helps. Now, you see the numbers here for the Giants are pretty decent against righties. These are from the start of 2021 until today. Or sorry, 2020 until today. That means that it still includes last year's numbers where the Giants fared pretty well. They have been pretty rough so far this year, a lot of strikeouts versus righties. So although it appears to be a tough matchup based on the sheet, I view it as being an okay matchup, especially because it is very cold in San Francisco, great park for pitching. So I think that Alcantara would be the way that I go if I were violating norms, Jack, and playing on the site that forced me to play too. But I think Alcantara is a good value option for today. Alvin, seen a lot of Oakland and some Rays love. Any on them? Yeah, I think so Oakland talked about before, not really into it. As far as the Rays go, they strike out a lot, and Steven Matz can definitely get some strikeouts. I want to see what he did in his most recent start because I remember that I think that game got rained out or something. I remember he was on the main slate and then got pushed off of it. But I do want to look at the most recent start here. 1 run, oopsies. Let's go there. Scroll down. 6 innings, 5 strikeouts. He was good again. So Steven Matz this year has been really good. I'm a believer in small samples if a player is excelling in the right areas, and Steven Matz honestly is doing so. 26 or 27% strikeout rate. He's probably going to get a lower number than that because the swinging strike rate is not super high, but I think that Matz is actually pretty solid. Historically, he has been a good ground ball guy, so I'm not really into the Rays personally. I think you could honestly give some minor thought to using Matz as a pitcher. I'm not going to get there personally, but I think you could consider that for sure. Alvin asked, would those be considered my favorite Tigers bats? Yes. I think that short is an option if you need to go there at $2,000, but I don't think I will for today, so probably not going to go there. Devontae, do you ever use the lineup generator on numberFire? Tried that last night. Locking in Bueller and a 4-stack of Boston didn't work well. So I would never judge. Good question, Devontae. I appreciate you asking. I would not judge results based on a one-game sample because that can lead us down a lot of bad paths, especially in baseball, because baseball is super high variance. If you use like an optimizer for basketball and it doesn't go super well, that's one thing because basketball is easier to predict. Baseball is very high variance, especially with hitters. So I think what I would say, Devontae, is you're using it the right way. I would lock in your pitcher because for me, I always want to maximize points in that position and let the optimizer scramble elsewhere. I'm not personally a big optimizer person. I prefer to build lineups by hand. That can get very dicey if you're doing like a bunch of lineups, but I just like to have the control and be able to get the right combinations. And you can do that via a lot of optimizers. They're very smart. But I would say for me personally, it's not something I enjoy all that much. But if you are doing it, I think the way to do it is what you're doing right now, locking in the pitcher and letting it build from there. But again, I wouldn't judge it based on a one-start sample. Jesus says, I missed Bethany. When do you estimate Las Vegas will get baseball? I'm interviewing for a job there. Nice. Congratulations. And the sports landscape is key in my decision factors. Bethany, not a Raiders fan? Okay, I get it. I'm not either, so totally fair. I don't know. I hope so. There have been some like rumblings of an additional team or two teams at some point. I think Vegas would be awesome. Personally, I'd love to go see a game there. But the big key, Bethany, is that it's warm in Las Vegas. And if we can get more warm weather sites on these slates, give us more offense, give us more dingers, I'm fully in. So I don't know. However, I am fully in favor. So if you start a petition, I promise you I will sign. Jesus, 14 games, going to be cray-cray? Yeah, a lot of choices, especially for today. So good luck, basically. Michael, who are your favorite Phillies beyond the lefties you mentioned? Harper, Gregorius, Miller, and the solo shot. Let's see if the lineup is out here. And it's probably not because they're out in Coors. I would assume it's not, but let's see. No Phillies lineup as of yet. So the good thing, as we were talking about this morning, is that Edman Marquez doesn't really have strict platoon splits. He's kind of pretty neutral versus both righties and lefties. So what we can do here is we can go over to this team thing, pull it up to versus righties. We're going to go to Philadelphia, and we're going to scroll down here, see what they have done versus righties since the start of last year. I tend to be a pretty big JT Realmuto fan. I'm guessing that his salary remains low in DFS because people don't tend to use him. Like they'll go Rhys Hoskins, something like that. And I get it. Rhys Hoskins also very good, but JT Realmuto, 36% hard hit rate, 35% fly ball rate, 223 ISO. Those are really good numbers for a righty. Andrew McCutchen, smaller sample to be sure, but he does have some power, and I think there is enough there to be good with him at Coors Field specifically. Rhys Hoskins, I think we want to look at just the 2021 data. He was obviously in a pretty big funk last year. You want to dig in and see what he's done this year. Because if he's making strides, I'm inclined to believe them because he is so good. 34% strikeout rate, 4% walk rate. So I think I might have gone on a podcast this offseason and begged Rhys Hoskins to swing more. I might have made a mistake. I think he might have gone too far. My bad, Rhys. Striking out a bit too much. However, Marquez is not a big strikeout guy, so I think we can be okay with that because Hoskins is still making really good contact. So I prefer Realmuto personally, but Hoskins definitely works. I'll pull up the salaries here on these Phillies guys based on the projected order over at numberFire.com. Okay, Hoskins is 4,000, Realmuto 38. I'll take that. Alec Boehm, I don't think had the best numbers versus righties, if I recall correctly. 30% hard hit rate, 22% fly ball rate. That's kind of annoying. 088 ISO. I'd be trying to avoid Boehm if I could. And they do expect Brad Miller to be in there. So we'll take that. So I would say, is Gregorius banged up? Yeah, he got hurt last night. I forgot about that. So hopefully Gregorius plays. If he doesn't, maybe they'll open up some value. But I think that I would be trying to get to like McCutchen or Realmuto as the guys in addition to the lefties we talked about today. Jack, with Texas being a strikeout booster, I could see Dylan Cease being a sneaky value as well. They have actually announced that he's going to pitch today because They didn't yesterday. I'm going to check this out right now because I was very annoyed with this, trying to research, and the White Sox, for whatever reason, had not said officially Cease was going to start. They still don't. Like, he's not on their website. Let me Google Chicago White Sox, problem pitchers. Okay, click that. And no Dylan Cease yet. So I don't know. Like, maybe it's official. I haven't seen it yet, but I don't like Dylan Cease personally. Walks a lot of guys. His velocity is actually down this year. Lets up some hard contact. I think I'd be more inclined to use Texas batters facing him than use Cease himself. The matchup does matter, and the matchup is good. I just need to see more out of Cease before I use him as a pitcher. So probably not going to be there for me, assuming we eventually get word that he'll start, because who knows. What about Kikuchi? Okay, so you say Kikuchi. I'd rather probably stack against him than use him as a pitcher. Oh, they did announce on Twitter. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. So it is Dylan Cease. I'm not going to use him, though. So Kikuchi, looking at his numbers so far this year, his velocity always gets talked up during the spring. I always fall victim to it because I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to buy into Kikuchi. He's really fun. And hasn't really been up so far this year. He's using more sliders, which is good, but the strikeout rate's still pretty muted. So I'm not going to use him. The Red Sox very good against lefties. I'd be okay stacking against him, but it's not like a high priority thing to me because I still think the talent is there for Kikuchi. So probably one of the situations, especially on a 14-game slate, where I think I have better options elsewhere, both at pitcher and in stack. So probably going to leave that one on the sidelines. But if I had to choose, I'd rather stack against them than go with Kikuchi as a pitcher. Sean saying hello. Abraham saying hello. And Aaron, hello, over on Facebook. What's up, guys? Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Bethany says she can be a Raiders fan. Love it. On board with that. Manny, when looking at pitchers, do you look at overall strikeouts, hard hit, and ISO, or do you look at each side of the plate for those? One really fun way, this is not answering your question, Manny, but you can go to RotoGrinders Plate IQ. It is a premium thing for them, but it's very much worth it. Like, the subscription alone makes that worth it. It'll show you the breakdowns for versus righty and versus lefty. I do not do it that way because you'll see a lot of correlation in lineups against pitchers where they will flood the lineup with lefties if the guy's really bad against lefties. So it kind of takes care of itself. But if you have access to that, I think that you should utilize it for sure. So, Manny, I think that, if you have access to those good tools, you should use them. The numbers on my sheet here are just versus or just overall strikeout rates. Now, with that said, like, let's use Sandy Alcantara as an example. He's facing the Giants for today. Before I talked about Sandy Alcantara on the podcast this morning, I made sure to actually go to his Fangraphs page and see, okay, what's he doing against lefties this year? It's a very small sample, I think like 49 plate appearances, but he is getting strikeouts versus lefties. So I think that that's a key thing to do before you decide to actually plug a pitcher in. Know the extremeness of the lineup they're facing. Like, the Jays are super righty heavy, the Giants super lefty heavy because of platoons. Have like those like keys in your mind of teams where you need to dig in extra, but overall it kind of washes out at the end. So if you have time to do it, feel free to do so. But it is, and especially if you have the tools to do so very quickly. But I think I do have overall strikeout rate here. Devontae, what are your favorite tournament plays on FanDuel? So I view tournaments, I think, in a different way, where if someone asks about a tournament play, they're probably asking about someone I think will be low rostered. For me, I want upside. And to me, that says Tyler Glasnow with the Tigers. Tigers are facing Mike Minor. If you look at the implied total for the Tigers for today, it's actually pretty low. That total was 8.5, went down to 8. I have not seen if it's gone back to 8.5 or if it's gone down further. But that to me says people probably aren't going to stack the Tigers. So I can go with Glasnow as my pitcher and use the Tigers and not feel like I am just totally going with the absolute chalk there. Yeah, their implied total, 3.85. Total is still 8. So I don't expect many people to be on Detroit for today. That means I can use Glasnow as my pitcher because I think he's the highest upside guy and still allow myself to be a bit different from the crowd. So that's why the way that I'm going here. Glasnow as a pitcher, Detroit as my hitters, because I'm not going to be, I wouldn't think, super chalky with that approach. Alvin, this might be a better question off air. What's your favorite way to use the heat map on numberFire? Great question on air too, because I've already got it up. Well timed, Alvin. I think you actually asked it before I pulled it up, but I'm going to give you credit anyway. So here you go. It's going to be super in-depth, very in-depth. This is very next level stuff. Boom. Sort by strikeout rate. Strikeouts matter more than pretty much everything in DFS. And obviously with this, like, they're just pulling the full season numbers. And Vince Velasquez has basically been a reliever so far this year. So that's not going to but you want to dig in. I want to see who's getting strikeouts, dig into them more, see if they're a pitcher I want to use in DFS. So I would say sort by strikeout rate and go from there. If you are someone who utilizes betting data a lot in your stuff for daily fantasy, then going by implied total can be helpful. I don't tend to use this a lot for pitchers because I want strikeouts. I don't care as much about earned runs allowed because every strikeout negates one earned run. It's 3 points and negative 3 points on FanDuel. So you can kind of think about it that way, where sure, if they let up a dinger, that's okay because if they negate it with a strikeout, that's fine. So I don't use implied total as much for pitchers, but it can be very helpful with batters. We just want runs scored, and you can get those here by going to that. You can see the Rockies have the top implied total, followed by the Phillies because, shocker, it's Coors Field. So that's the way I'd use it, Alvin. Strikeout rate for pitchers, implied total for hitters, if we're going to do some shortcuts here. Aaron, favorite value shortstop today, Niko Goodrum. He is second base and shortstop eligible. Let's go back over here. Pull up the Tigers' numbers versus lefties. This is a small sample for Goodrum. Actually, I'll pull up the Tigers' numbers versus lefties, look at that as a whole, but then we'll go to Goodrum specifically and expand that sample versus lefties for him. $2,500 for today over on FanDuel. He's actually the cover boy for this podcast or this stream for today. All right, Goodrum, 340 ISO in this time, but again, small sample. So let's go over here. Let's open this puppy up by going to his splits on Fangraphs. And we're going to go to what's by internet obliges. We're going to go to versus handedness and go versus lefties. Okay, for his past couple of years, good isolated slugging numbers versus lefties. He's had a big enough sample in that time. You can also go to Split Tool over on Fangraphs. Actually, this is pretty helpful, so we can go through this as well because it does help quite a bit. We're going to narrow this down to versus lefties. Okay. We're going to make this to be group by career. And then we're going to go 2019 to 2021. So this will be the past 3 years of number versus lefties. 160 plate appearances. He has a 23% strikeout rate, 215 ISO, good batted ball data. The gun's kind of juiced in Detroit, so I would take batted ball data from Detroit with a little bit of a grain of salt, but the ISO is there too, and that matters. So Niko Goodrum, my favorite value shortstop for today. If you need to save more salary, then I guess I could go short, but I'd rather just find the way to get up to Goodrum personally. Michael, how do you feel about a Mariner stack against Perez? Perez. Accent is over the E there. I'm not super into it because the Mariners are pretty bad against lefties. They're good against righties. I've actually had some fun using the Mariners this year when they've been facing righties. They're actually not bad, but against lefties, pretty different discussion. A 79 WRC plus and a lot of strikeouts. And Perez, I should say, has been doing a good job this year of limiting hard contact. So I'm not personally on the Mariners. I think if you were going to do it, maybe you go. I think Kyle Lewis was ridiculously low salary last night. So see if the lineup is in here for them yet. It wasn't when I refreshed, but $2,400 for Kyle Lewis. I could see going him as like a one-off, but from a stacking perspective, I'd rather go elsewhere there. Alvin, last one, secondary stack, less than 4, Royals or Phillies. So if you had the salary to go Phillies, absolutely do it. I think that if you could never afford Coors Field, you should be trying to do so just because it's so advantageous to have that there. And the weather, honestly, for Coors, not bad for tonight. It is 55 degrees, so it is lower, but like it's 70 for the max for the 2 indoor stadiums. So I think it's a fine temperature for today. I would say if you had the choice to go Coors, always go Coors. Phillies are the team I'd go to, the Royals are the team I'd go to if I didn't have the salary. See if their lineup. I think their lineup was out. Scrolling. There we go. Okay. Pretty much, Ryan O'Hearn's back. I've used Ryan O'Hearn far too many times in my life, and it has never gone well, so I definitely should not do that. But let's look, just for funsies. You shouldn't enable me like this and let me look at the Royals lineup and see that Ryan O'Hearn is in there. Okay, just got called up. All right, let's do it. Last year, 6.5% barrel rate. That's not ideal. A lot of strikeouts, not a lot of power. Probably shouldn't go there. Probably will, just because I know myself and I know my vices. O'Hearn, oh no, not on the slate. Dang, just kidding. I'm not going to use Ryan O'Hearn. Thank you, FanDuel, for saving me from myself. So no Ryan O'Hearn, but I would still think the Royals are a good stack for today. Benintendi had a couple of barrels a couple nights ago. He's still pretty rough for the full season, but could potentially go there as well. Aaron, I may have missed you answering it. Sorry for the repeat question, but do you like the Yankees bats tonight against Logan Allen after last night's heat-up? So I think that Logan Allen grades out as someone who's probably going to be pretty decent at suppressing hard contact. Let's pull up the numbers here on him. I know there are smart people who are on the Yankees for today. I know Kenyatta Storn, who writes our helpers over at numberFire, I believe he likes the Yankees. And last year, I guess if you look at the full career for Allen, 5.31 skill interactive ERA, does get some ground balls, does limit barrels. Strikeout rate is going up a little bit so far this year. Let's see if he's faced the Rangers. That's kind of like the one check mark we have. No Rangers yet, so I don't know. I think that I'm not super inclined to get there just because if I'm going to allocate that much salary, I'd rather do it at Coors Field with the Phillies specifically, maybe the Rockies as secondary play, but it's not a bad play. That's the thing with these big slates. You kind of have to prioritize. And if I'm prioritizing stacks for tonight, the Yankees won't be in my top 3. So as I'm whittling my list down, I'm kind of crossing off teams based on certain things. So with the Yankees, it's because Allen does a good job of limiting hard contact. That's going to be a mark against them. So there are very smart people who are on the Yankees for today. Personally, I probably won't be just because there are a lot of options, and I think Allen does a good enough job in that one area to lower them on the list compared to other options. That is all the time that we have for today and this week on the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A. Big thank you to everyone tuning in, not just today, but this entire week. As a reminder, next week on Thursday and Friday, we have our NFL Draft live stream with myself, JJ Zacharyson, Brandon Gadula, and Ryan Williams, breaking down the first round of the NFL Draft Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday. We'll be live the entire time, so like 4 and 5 hours respectively. Going to be a bladder tester for sure. But we'll be there Thursday, Friday. So make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. We'll take some questions during that show as well. So if you have questions about the NFL draft during it and you're watching along, feel free to hit us up. JJ will have his projections live on air as well. Ryan's talking DFS and best ball. I'll be talking betting and DFS. Brandon and I will be going head-to-head with our win total projections for each team as well. So make sure you are subscribed to the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook pages. If you have additional questions for me, I am on Twitter at JimSannes, JimSannes. You can also follow the FanDuel Podcast Network at FanDuel Podcast. Big thank you to Calvin Theobald, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Cal, as always, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you tonight. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you once again next week. This has been the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A.